Hi, I'm Michael Giblin from violinexcerpts.com. Brahms Symphony No. 4 has many excerpts, at least one in every movement. But this excerpt from the first movement, measures 392 to the end, tests almost every facet of the violinist, from blind shifts to the use of extensions, general musical understanding, and getting this rich Brahmsian sound, as well as the normal criteria such as rhythm and intonation. But that basically goes without saying. So in this video, I'm going to cover some of the bowing and fingering options that you can use, as well as ways to practice and prepare this excerpt, as well as covering some of the common mistakes that I hear people making. And I'm sure that if you put these elements into practice, that you'll be able to perform it with confidence. You'll eliminate the fear and anxiety that comes from wondering if you're even doing this right, as well as just being able to enjoy the excerpt and play it musically. So let's get started. Getting started with this excerpt is a little bit like getting started with the Schumann scherzo, where instead of thinking about the smallest subdivisions, these 16th notes in both cases, I think it's a better idea to think about a bigger picture, or hopefully a melody that you could sing to get yourself prepped and to find a tempo. So let's look for a melody we could sing. How about in measure 394? This looks like a melody, and if you were to sing these measures, you'd probably be in good shape. But let me ask you to think about this. Let's think about this melody also shows up at the very beginning of the symphony on page 1. And I think this is a nicer melody to sing in your head, and it will get you a little calmer than I think if you sing the melody at 394. This you get really excited and start a little too aggressively. And because the melody at the beginning has just this nice calm, it's nothing really to get worried about. So when we start the excerpt, I know technically we're still marked sempre più forte, but we won't have anywhere to grow in this crescendo if we start right at forte. So I think it's better to start maybe like a mezzo forte, and we're just going to gradually step up the dynamic in each of these groups so that by the time we get to 394, we'll have a nice fortissimo and we will have crescendoed through the last two measures. And then in measure 402, this note does not have an accent on it. And so actually I think of this measure as having a crescendo in it, which has a couple of positive side effects. The first obviously is that it helps you see the musical phrasing as going to the next measure, but also it will help you not smack it because you're trying to save the bow, which is really important because if you expend the same amount of bow as we just were in all these, and you end up down here, it'll be okay for these eighth notes, but you won't have enough bow for this next high C. So it's important I put a little $sign on this note also, which means like save money and save bow, get it? But this measure also has one of these landmines that the panel is listening for, and that's to see if you rush through this half note, which traditionally happens because everybody's thinking, oh crap, this big shift is coming up. And so they kind of blow through this half note. So it's important to make sure that you hear all 5 eighth notes, this da-da-dee-da-da. And so I created, for this reason, the smarter metronome track that you can find in the deluxe package. And what it does is it plays the subdivisions when you have the long notes, and then it plays the big beats when you have the subdivisions. So in this measure, it goes da-da-dee-da-da, and so that will hopefully prevent you from rushing. Now, looking ahead, this high C that's coming up, getting there is a shift that's going to require a lot of practice. So let's talk seriously about shifts for a second. This is your shift. And this is an audition. And this is what happens to your shift in an audition. And these are your sweaty fingers trying to slide down your cold fingerboard. Any questions? Oh no, it's not that serious. What I wanted to talk about was that there are two kinds of shifts, and this is probably familiar for you, so just as a refresher. So there's the classical, or sometimes it's called the French shift, where you slide up with the old finger, and once you're in position, you replace the new finger. It would sound something like this in slow motion. The other option is the romantic or the Russian shift, and this is where you slide up with the new finger. And it might not have sounded like it by demonstrating right then, but I think this is a better shift to do because there's not much accuracy to be gained with such a big shift in doing the classical shift. And there's not really a whole lot of time, so you kind of just have to go for it. And I think the Russian shift works best here. Thank you!